Hey, modern fans and followers, how are you and your dear Ania? It's activist and Professor S. Suresh back with altruistic enthusiasm for my 95th video on unveil of publication on YouTube today, 15th October 2020, Thursday. Topic for discussion today is obesity and its adverse effects on health. Obesity is one of the lifestyle diseases. It is preventable. Obesity is a medical condition in which excess body fat is accumulated to an extent that it may have negative effect on health. People generally consider obese when the body mass index BMI, a measurement obtained by dividing a person's weight in kg by the square of the person's height in meters, is over 30 kg per meter square. The range 25 to 30 kg per meter square is defined as overweight. Some East Asian countries use lower values. Obesity is correlated with various diseases and conditions, particularly cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, obstructive sleep apnea, certain types of cancer, and osteoarthritis. High BMI is a marker of risk but not proven to be a direct cause for diseases caused by diet, physical activity, and environmental factors. A reciprocal link has been found between obesity and depression. With obesity, increasing the risk of clinical depression and also depression leading to a higher chance of developing obesity. Obesity has individual socioeconomic and environmental causes including diet, physical activity, automation, urbanization, genetic susceptibility, medications, mental disorders, economic policies, endocrine disorders, and exposure to endocrine disruptive chemicals. While a majority of those individuals at any given time are attempting to lose weight and often successful, research shows that maintaining that weight loss over the long term proves to be rare. The reasons for weight cycling. Weight cycling is a lose the weight regain are not fully understood and may include decreased energy expenditure combined with increased biological urge to eat during and after calorific restriction. More studies are needed to determine if weight cycling and yo-yo dieting contribute to inflammation and disease risk in obese individuals. Obesity prevention requires a complex approach, including interventions at community, family, and individual levels. Changes of diet and exercising are the main treatments recommended by healthy professionals. Diet quality can be improved by reducing the consumption of energy-dense foods such as those high in fat or sugars and by increasing the intake of dietary fiber. However, large-scale analysis have found an inverse relationship between energy density and energy cost of foods in developed nations. Low-income populations are more likely to live in neighborhoods that are considered food deserts or food swamps, where nutritional groceries are less available. Medications can be used along with a suitable diet to reduce appetite or decrease fat absorption. If diet, exercise, and medication are not effective, a gastric balloon or surgery may be performed to reduce the stomach volume or length of the intestines, leading to feeling full earlier or a reduced ability to absorb nutrients from food. Obesity is a leading preventable cause of death worldwide, with increasing rates in adults and children. In 2015, 600 million adults, 12%, and 100 million children were obese in 195 countries. Obesity is more common in women than in men. Authorities view it as one of the most serious public health problems of the 21st century. Obesity is stigmatized in much of the modern world, particularly in the Western world, though it was seen as a symbol of wealth and fertility at other times in history and still is in some parts of the world. In 2013, several medical societies, including the American Medical Association (AMA) and American Heart Association (AHA), classified obesity as a disease. Obesity is a medical condition in which excess body fat has accumulated to the extent that it may have adverse effect on health. It is defined as body mass index, as discussed before, and further evaluated in terms of fat distribution via the waist-hip ratio and total Cardiovascular risk factors. BMI is closely related to both percentage of body fat and total body fat. In children, a healthy weight varies with age and gender. Obesity in children and adolescents is defined not as an absolute number but in relation to historical normal groups such that obesity is a BMI greater than the 95th percentile. The reference data in these percentiles were based data from 1963 to 1994 and thus have not been affected by the recent increases in weight. Some modifications to the rule definitions have been made by particular organizations. The surgical literature breaks down class 2 and class 3 obesity into further categories whose exact values are still disputed. Any BMI greater than or equal to 35 or 40 kg per meter square is severe obesity. A BMI of greater than or equal to 35 kg per meter square and experiencing obesity related health conditions are greater than or equal to 40 to 45 or 44.9 kg per meter square is morbid obesity. A BMI of greater than or equal to 45 or 50 kg per meter square is super obesity. As Asian populations develop negative health consequences at a lower BMI than Caucasians, some nations have redefined obesity. Japan has defined obesity as any BMI greater than 25 kg per square meter, while China uses a BMI greater than 28 kg per square meter. Excessive body weight is associated with various diseases and conditions, particularly cardiovascular diseases, diabetes mellitus, type 2, obstructive sleep apnea, certain types of cancer, osteoarthritis, and asthma. As a result, obesity has been found to reduce life expectancy. Obesity is one of the leading preventable causes of death worldwide. A number of reviews have found that mortality risk is lowest at a BMI of 20 to 25 in non-smokers and at 24 to 27 in current smokers, with the risk increasing along with changes in either direction. This appears to apply in at least 4 continents. In contrast, a 2013 review found that grade 1 obesity BMI 30 to 35 was not associated with higher mortality than normal weight, and that overweight BMI 25 to 30 was associated with lower mortality than was normal weight. BMI 18.5 to 25. Other evidence suggests that the association of BMI and waist circumferences with mortality is U or J shaped, while the association between waist to hip ratio and waist to height ratio with the mortality is also positive. In Asians, the risk of negative health effects begins to increase between 22 to 25 kg per square meter. A BMI about 32 kg per square meter has been associated with a double mortality rate among women over a 16-year period. The US obesity is estimated to cause 111,909 to 365,000 deaths per year, while 1,000,000, 7.7% of deaths in Europe are attributed to excess weight. On average, obesity reduces life expectancy by 6 to 7 years. A BMI of 35 to 30 to 35 reduces life expectancy by 2 to 4 years, while severe obesity, BMI greater than 40, reduces life expectancy by 10 years. Obesity increases the risk of many physical and mental conditions. These comorbidities are most commonly shown in metabolic syndrome, a combination of medical disorders which includes diabetes mellitus type 2, high blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, and high triglyceride levels. Complications are either directly caused by obesity or indirectly related through mechanisms sharing a common cause, such as a poor diet or a sedentary lifestyle. The strength of the link between obesity and specific conditions varies. One of the strongest is the link with the type 2 diabetes. Excess body fat underlies 64% of cases of diabetes in men and 77% of cases in women. Health consequences fall into two broad categories. Those attributable to the effects of increased fat mass, such as osteoarthritis, obstructive sleep apnea, and social stigmatization, and those due to the increased number of fat cells, diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Increases in body fat alter the body's response to insulin, potentially leading to insulin resistance. Increased fat also creates a pro-inflammatory state and a pro-thrombotic state. Obesity increases the risk of developing serious illness from coronavirus disease 2019. Although the negative health consequences of obesity the general population are well supported by the available evidence, health outcomes in certain subgroups seem to be improved at an increased BMI, a phenomenon known as the obesity survival paradox. Paradox was first described in 1999 in overweight and obese people undergoing hemodialysis and has subsequently been found in those with heart failure and peripheral artery disease (PAD). In people with heart failure, those with a BMI between 30 and 34.9 had lower mortality than those with a normal weight. This has been attributed to the fact that people often lose weight as they become progressively more ill. Similar findings have been made in other types of heart disease. People with class 1 obesity and heart disease do not have greater rates of other heart problems than people of normal weight and also have heart disease. In people with a greater degrees of obesity, however, the risk of further cardiovascular events is increased. Even after cardiac bypass surgery, no increase in mortality is seen in the overweight and obese. One study found that the improved survival could be explained by the more aggressive treatment of obese people receive after a cardiac event. Another study found that if one takes into account cardiac pulmonary obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD) in those with PAD, the benefit of obesity no longer exists. At an individual level, a combination of excessive food energy intake and a lack of physical activity are thought to explain most cases of obesity. A limited number of cases are due primarily to genetics, medical reasons, or psychiatric illness. In contrast, increasing rates of obesity at the societal level are felt to be due to an easily accessible and palatable diet, increased reliance on cars and mechanized manufacturing. A 2006 review identified 10 other possible contributors to the recent increase of obesity: insufficient sleep, endocrine disruptors, decreased variability in ambient temperature, decreased rates of smoking because smoking suppresses appetite, increased use of medications that can cause weight gain, proportional increases in ethnic and age groups that tend to be heavier, pregnancy at a later age, epigenetic risk factors passed on generationally, natural selection for higher BMI, and assortative mating leading to increased concentration of obesity risk factors. According to the Endocrine Society, there is growing evidence suggesting that obesity is a disorder of the energy homeostasis system rather than simply arising from passive accumulation of excess food. A 2016 review supported excess food as a primary factor. Dietary energy study per capita varies markedly between the different regions and countries. It has also changed significantly over time. From the early 1970s to the late 1990s, the average food energy available per person per day increased in all parts of the world except Eastern Europe. The US has the highest availability with 3,654 calories per person in 1996. This increased further in 2003 to 3,754 calories. During the late 1990s, Europeans had 3,394 calories per person. In the developing areas of Asia, there were 2,648 calories per person. And in sub-Saharan Africa, people had 2,176 calories per person. Total food energy consumption has been found to be related to obesity. The widespread availability of nutritional guidelines has done little to address the problems of overeating and poor dietary choice. From 1971 to 2000, obesity rates in the US increased from 14.5% to 30.9%. During the same period, an increase occurred in the average amount of food energy consumed. For women, the average increase was 335 calories per day in 1971 and 1,877 calories in 2004. While for men, the average increase was 168 calories per day in 1971 and 2,618 calories in 2004. Most of this extra food energy came from an increase in carbohydrate consumption rather than fat consumption. The primary sources of these extra carbohydrates are sweetened beverages, sodas. Not only sweetened, they contain so much gas, carbon dioxide, which is very bad for the health, which now account for almost 25% of the daily food energy in young adults in America, and potato chips. Consumption of sweetened drinks such as soft drinks, fruit drinks, iced tea, and energy and vitamin water drinks is believed to be contributing to the rising rates of obesity and to an increased risk of metabolic syndrome. and the type 2 diabetes. Vitamin D deficiency is related to diseases associated with obesity. As societies become increasingly reliant on energy dense big portions and fast food meals, the association between fast food consumption and obesity becomes more concerning. In the US, consumption of fast food meals tripled and food energy intake from these meals quadrupled between 1977 and 1995. Agricultural policy and techniques in the United States and Europe have led to lower food prices. In the US, subsidization of corn, soy, wheat, and rice through the US Farm Bill has made the main sources of processed food cheap compared to fruits and vegetables. Calorie count laws and nutrition fact labels attempt to steer people toward making healthier food choices, increasing awareness of how much food energy is being consumed. Obese people consistently underreport their food consumption as compared to people of normal weight. This is supported both by tests of people carried out in a calorimeter room and by direct observation. A sedentary lifestyle plays a significant role in obesity. Worldwide, there has been a large shift towards less physically demanding work, and currently, at least 30% of the world's population gets insufficient exercise. This is particularly due to the increasing use of mechanized transportation and the greater prevalence of labor saving technology in the home. In children, there appears to be declines in levels of physical activity due to less walking and physical education. World trends in active leisure time physical activity are less clear. WHO, World Health Organization, indicates people worldwide are taking a less active recreational pursuits, while a study from Finland found an increase and a study from the US found leisure time physical activity has not changed significantly. A 2011 review of physical activity in children found that it may not be a significant contributor in both children and adults. There is an association between television viewing time and the risk of obesity. Couch potatoes, mouse potatoes. The review found that 63 to 73% studies, 86% showed an increased rate of childhood obesity. Increased media exposure with rates increasing proportionally to the time spent watching television. Now, another major culprit is online classes because of COVID-19. Like many other medical conditions, obesity is a result of interplay between genetic and environmental factors. Polymorphisms in various genes controlling appetite and metabolism predisposed to obesity when sufficient food energy is present. As of my 2006, more than 41% of these sites on human genome have been linked to the development of obesity in a favorable environment is present. People with two copies of the FTO gene, fat mass and obesity associated gene have been found on average to weigh 3 to 4 kg more and have a 1.674-fold greater risk of obesity compared to those without the risk allele. The differences in BMI between people that are due to genetics vary depending on the population examined from 6% to 85%. Obesity is a major feature in several syndromes such as Prader-Willi syndrome, Bardet-Biedl syndrome, Cohen syndrome, and Momo syndrome. The term non-syndromic obesity is sometimes used to exclude these conditions. In people with early onset of severe obesity, defined by an onset before 10 years of age and body mass index over 3 standard deviations above normal. 7% harbor a single point DNA mutation. Studies that are focused on inheritance patterns rather than on specific genes have found that 80% of the offspring of two obese parents are also obese. In contrast, less than 10% of the offspring of two parents who are of normal weight. Different people exposed to the same environment have different risks of obesity due to their underlying genetics. 50 gene hypothesis postulates that due to dietary scarcity during human evolution, people are prone to obesity. The ability to take advantage of rare periods of abundance or by storing energy as fat would be advantageous during times of varying food availability. And individuals with greater adipose reserves would be more likely to survive famine. Tendency to store fat, however, would be maladaptive in societies with stable food supplies. These theories received various criticisms, and other evolutionary based theories such as the drifty gene hypothesis and the thrifty phenotype hypothesis have also been proposed. Certain physical and mental illnesses and the pharmaceutical substances used to treat them can increase the risk of obesity. Medical illnesses that can increase obesity risk include several rare genetic syndromes listed, as well as some congenital or acquired conditions: hypothyroidism, Cushing syndrome, growth hormone deficiency, and some eating disorders such as binge eating disorder and night eating syndrome. However, obesity is not regarded as a psychiatric disorder, and therefore it is not listed in the DSM IDR as a psychiatric illness. The risk of overweight and obesity is higher in patients with psychiatric disorders than in persons without psychiatric disorders. Certain medications may cause weight gain or changes in body composition. These include insulin, sulfonylureas, thiazolidine, thiazolidinediones, atypical antipsychotics, antidepressants, steroids, certain anticonvulsants, fesotifen, and some forms of hormonal contraception. The correlation between social class and BMI varies globally. A review in 1989 found that in developed countries, women in a high social class are less likely to be obese. More significant differences are seen among men in different social classes. The developing world, women, men, and children of higher social classes from high social classes had greater rates of obesity. An update of this review carried out in 2007 found the same relationships, but they are weaker. The decrease in strength of correlation was felt to be due to the effects of globalization. Among developed countries, level of adult obesity and percentage of teenage children who are overweight are correlated with the income inequality. A similar relationship is seen among US states. More adults, even in high social classes, are obese in more unequal states. Many explanations have been put forth for associations between BMI and social class. It is thought that in developed countries, the wealthy are able to afford more nutritious food. They are under greater social pressure to remain slim and have more opportunities, along with the greater expectations for physical fitness. In underdeveloped countries, the ability to afford food, high energy expenditure with physical labor, and cultural values favoring larger body size are believed to contribute to the observed patterns. Attitudes towards body weight held by people in one's life may also play a role in obesity. The correlation in BMI changes over time has been found among friends, siblings, and spouses. Stress and perceived low social status appear to increase risk of obesity. Smoking has a significant effect on individuals' weight. Those who quit smoking gain an average of 4.4 kgs for men and 5.5 kgs for women over 10 years. However, changing rates of smoking have had little effect on the overall rates of obesity. The US, the number of children a person has is related to the risk of obesity. A woman's risk increases by 7% by child per child, while a man's risk increases by 4% per child. This could be partly explained by the fact that having dependent children decreases physical activity in Western parents. In the developing world, urbanization is playing a major role in increasing rates of obesity. In China, overall rates of obesity are below 5%. However, in some cities, rates of obesity are greater than 20%. Malnutrition in early life is believed to play a role in the rising rates of obesity in the developing world. Endocrine changes that occur during periods of malnutrition may promote the storage of fat once more food energy becomes available. Consistent and cognitive epidemiological data, numerous studies confirm that obesity is associated with the cognitive deficits. Without whether obesity causes cognitive deficits or vice versa is unclear at present. The study of the effect of infectious agents on metabolism is still in the early stages. Gut flora has been shown to differ between lean and obese people. There is an indication that gut flora can affect the metabolic potential. Apparent alternation is believed to confer a greater capacity to harvest energy contributing to obesity. Whether these differences are the direct cause or the result of obesity has yet to be determined unequivocally. The use of antibiotics among children has also been associated with obesity later in life. An association between viruses and obesity has been found in humans and several different animal species. The amount of these associations may have contributed to the rising rate of obesity is yet to be determined. A number of reviews have found an association between short duration of sleep and obesity. Whether one causes the other is unclear. Even if short sleep does increase weight gain, it is unclear if this is a meaningful degree. A meaningful degree or increasing sleep would be of benefit. Certain aspects of personality are associated with being obese. Neuroticism, impulsivity, and sensitivity to reward are more common in people who are obese, while conscientiousness and self-control are less common in people who are obese. Loneliness is also a risk factor. There are many possible pathophysiological mechanisms involved in the development and maintenance of obesity. This field of research has been almost unapproached until the leptin gene was discovered in 1994 by J.M. Friedman's laboratory. While leptin and ghrelin are produced peripherally, they could control appetite through their actions on the central nervous systems. In particular, they and other appetite-related hormones act on the hypothalamus, a region of the brain central to the regulation of food intake and energy expenditure. There are several circuits within the hypothalamus that contribute to its role in integrating appetite. The melanocortin pathway being the best understood. The circuit begins with an area of the hypothalamus and arcuate nucleus that has outputs to the lateral hypothalamus and ventromedial hypothalamus, the brain's feeding and satiety centers, respectively. The WHO predicts that overweight and obesity may soon replace more traditional public health concerns such as undernutrition and infectious diseases as the most significant cause of fall. Obesity is a public health and policy problem because of its prevalence, cost, and health effects. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force recommends a screening for all adults, followed by behavioral interventions in those who are obese. Public health efforts seek to understand and correct the environmental factors responsible for the increasing prevalence of obesity in the population. Solutions look at changing the factors that cause excess food energy consumption and inhibit physical activity. Efforts include federally reimbursed meal programs in schools, limiting direct junk food marketing to children and decreasing access to sweetened beverages in schools. The WHO recommends the taxing of sugary drinks when constructing urban environments. Efforts have been made to increase access to parks and to develop pedestrian roads. There is low quality evidence that nutritional labeling with energy information on menus can help to reduce energy intake while dining in restaurants. The main treatment for obesity consists of weight loss via calorie restricted dieting and physical exercise. Dieting as part of a lifestyle change produces sustained weight loss despite slow weight regains over time. Although 87% of participants in the National Weight Control Registry were able to maintain 10% body weight loss for 10 years, the most appropriate dietary approach for long-term weight loss maintenance is still unknown. Intensive behavioral interventions combining both dietary changes and exercise are recommended. Intermittent fasting has no additional benefit of weight loss compared to continuous energy restriction. Adherence is a more important factor in weight loss success when whatever kind of diet an individual undertakes. Several hypocaloric diets are effective in the short term. Low carbohydrate diets appear better than low fat diets for weight loss. In the long term, however, all types of low carbohydrate and low fat diets appear equally beneficial. A 2014 review found that the heart disease and diabetes risks associated with the different diets appears to be similar. Promotion of the Mediterranean diets among the obese may lower the risk of heart disease. Decreased intake of sweet drinks is also related to weight loss. Success rates of Long-term weight loss maintenance with lifestyle changes are low, ranging from 2 to 20%. Dietary and lifestyle changes are effective in limiting excessive weight gain in pregnancy and improve outcomes of both the mother and the child. Intensive behavioral counseling is recommended in those who are both obese and have other risk factors for heart disease. Five medications have evidence for long-term use: orlistat, larcoserine, lirag, liraglutide, pentermine, topiramate, and naltrexone, bupropion. They result in weight loss after 1 year range from 3 to 6.7 kg over placebo. Orlistat, liraglutide, and naltrexone, bupropion are available in both US and Europe, whereas pentermine, topiramate are available only in the US. European regulatory authorities rejected the later two drugs in part because of associations of heart valve problems and larcoserine and more general heart and blood vessel problems with pentermine topiramate. Larcoserine was available in the US and then removed from the market in 2020 due to its association with cancer. Orlistat use is associated with high rates of gastrointestinal side effects, and concerns have been raised about negative effects on the kidneys. There is no information on how these drugs affect longer-term complications of obesity, such as cardiovascular disease or death. The most effective treatment of obesity is bariatric surgery, tummy tuck, reduction of stomach. The types of procedures include laparoscopic adjustable gastric banding, Rotanex gastric bypass, vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and bilopancreatic diversion. Surgery for severe obesity is associated with a long-term weight loss, improvement in obesity-related conditions, and decreased overall mortality. However, improved metabolic health results from the weight loss, not the surgery. One study found that a weight loss between 14 to 25%, depending on the type of procedure performed at 10 years, and a 29% reduction in all-cause mortality when combined with standard weight loss measures. Complications occur in about 17% of cases, and reoperation is needed in 7% of cases. Due to its cost and risks, researchers are searching for other effective yet less invasive or without medication. The US guidelines on obesity recommend informing them about bariatric surgery. In early historical periods, obesity was rare and achievable only by a small elite, although recognized as a problem for health. But as prosperity increased in the early modern period, affected increasingly larger groups of the population. In 1997, the WHO formally recognized obesity as a global epidemic. As of 2008, the WHO estimates that at least 500 million adults, greater than 10% are obese, higher rates among women than in men. The percentage of adults affected in the US as of 2015-16 is about 39.6% overall, 39.7% of males, and 41.1% of females. The rate of obesity also increases with the age, at least up to 50 or 60 years old, and severe obesity in the US, Australia, and Canada is increasing faster than the overall rate in obesity. The OECD has projected an increase in obesity rates until at least 2030, especially in the US, Mexico, and England, with rates reaching 47%, 39%, and 35% respectively. Once considered a problem only of high-income countries, obesity rates are rising worldwide and affecting both the developed and developing world. These increases have been felt most dramatically in urban settings. The only remaining region of the world where obesity is not common is sub-Saharan Africa. Ancient Greek medicine recognized obesity as a medical disorder, and records that the ancient Egyptians saw it in the same way. The Indian surgeon Shushruta, 6th century BCE, related obesity to diabetes and heart disorders. He recommended physical work to help cure it and its side effects. For most of human history, mankind struggled with the food scarcity. When food is scarce, people cannot worry about the nutrition value. Obesity has thus historically been viewed as a sign of wealth and prosperity. It was common among high officials in Europe in the Middle Ages the Renaissance as well as in ancient Asian civilizations. The 17th century English medical author Tobias Venner is credited with being one of the first to refer to the term as a societal disease. During the 20th century, as populations reached their genetic potential for height, weight began increasing much more than height, resulting in obesity. In the 1950s, increasing wealth in the developed world decreased child mortality, but as body weight increased, heart and kidney disease became more common. During this time period, insurance companies realized that connections between weight and life expectancy and increased premiums for the obese. Many cultures through the history have viewed obesity as a result of a character flaw. During Christian times, the food was viewed as a gateway to the sins of sloth and lust. In modern Western culture, excess weight is often regarded as unattractive, and obesity is commonly associated with the various negative stereotypes. People of all ages can face social stigmatization and may be targeted by bullies or shunned by their peers. Obesity is still seen as a sign of health and well-being in many parts of Africa. This has become particularly common since the HIV epidemic began. In addition to its health impacts, obesity leads to many problems, including disadvantages in employment and increased business costs. These effects are felt by all the levels of society, from individuals to corporations to governments. In 2005, the medical costs attributable to obesity in the US were an estimated $190.2 billion at 20.6% of all medical expenditures, while the cost of obesity in Canada was estimated at Canadian $2 billion in 1997, 2.4% of total health costs. The total annual direct cost of overweight and obesity in Australia in 2005 was Australian $21 billion. Overweight and obese Australians also received Australians $35.6 billion in government subsidies. The estimate range for annual expenditures on diet products is $40 billion to $100 billion in the US alone. The Lancet Commission on Obesity in 2019 called for a global treaty model on the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, committing countries to address obesity and undernutrition explicitly, excluding the food industry from policy development. They estimate the global cost of obesity to be US dollars 2 trillion US dollars a year, about 22.8% of the world's GDP, gross domestic product. Obesity prevention programs have been found to reduce the cost of treating obesity-related diseases. However, the longer people live, the more medical costs they incur. Researchers have therefore concluded that reducing obesity may improve the public's health, but it is unlikely to reduce overall health spending. Obesity can lead to social stigmatization and disadvantages in employment. When compared to the normal weight counterparts, obese workers on average have higher rates of absenteeism from work and take more disability leave, thus increasing costs for employers and decreasing productivity. A study examining Duke University employees found that people with a BMI of over 40 filed twice as many workers' compensation claims as those whose BMI was 18.5 to 24.9. They also had more than 12 times as many lost work days. The most common injuries in this group were due to falls and lifting, thus affecting the lower extremities, wrists, and or hands and backs. The Alabama State Employees Insurance Board approved a controversial plan to charge obese workers $25 a month for health insurance that would otherwise be free unless they take steps to lose weight and improve their health. These measures started in January 2010 and applied to those state workers whose BMI exceeds 35 and who fail to make improvements in their health after 1 year. Some research shows that obese people are less likely to be hired for a job and are less likely to be promoted. Obese people are paid less than their non-obese counterparts for an equivalent job. Obese women on average make 6% less than obese men, and obese men make 3% less. Specific industries such as the airline, healthcare, and food industries have special concerns. Due to rising rates of obesity, airlines have higher fuel costs and pressures to increase seating width. In 2000, the extra weight of obese passengers cost airlines 275 million US dollars. The healthcare industry has had to invest in special facilities for handling severely obese patients. including special lifting equipment and bariatric ambulances. Costs for restaurants are all increased by litigation, accusing them of causing obesity. In 2005, the US Congress discussed legislation to prevent civil lawsuits against the food industry in relation to obesity. However, it did not become the law. With the American Medical Association's 2013 classification of obesity as a chronic disease, it is thought that health insurance companies will more likely pay for obesity treatment, counseling, and surgery, and the cost of research and development for fat treatment pills or gene therapy treatments should be more affordable if insurers help to subsidize that cost. The AMA, American Medical Association classification, is not legally binding. However, so health insurance still have the right to reject coverage for a treatment of our procedure. In 2014, the European Court of Justice ruled that morbid obesity is a disability. The court said that if an employee's obesity prevents him from full and effective participation of that person in professional life on an equal basis with other workers, then it shall be considered a disability, and that firing someone on such grounds is discriminatory. The healthy BMI range varies with the age and sex of the child. Not the sex, I would say gender. Obesity in children and adolescents is defined as a BMI greater than the 95th percentile. Those things I already mentioned. The reference data that these percentiles are based on is from 1963 to 1994, and thus has not been affected by the recent increases in rates of obesity. Childhood obesity has reached epidemic proportions in the 21st century, with rising rates in both the developed and the developing world. Rates of obesity in Canadian boys have increased from 7% in the 1990s to over 30% in the 1990s, while during the same period, rates increased from 4 to 14% in Brazilian children. In the UK, there were 60% more obese children in 2005 compared to 1989. The US, the percentage of overweight and obese children, increased to 16% in 2008, a 300% increase over the prior 30 years. As with obesity in adults, many factors contribute to the rising rates of childhood obesity. Changing diet and decreasing physical activity are believed to be the two most important causes for the recent increases in the incidence of child obesity. Antibiotics in the first 6 months of life have been associated with excess weight at age 7 in 12 years of age. Age 7 to 12 years of age. Because childhood obesity often persists into adulthood and is associated with numerous chronic illnesses. Children who are obese are often tested for hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, and fatty liver disease. Treatments used in children are primarily lifestyle interventions and behavioral techniques, although efforts to increase activity in children have had little success. In the US, medications are not FDA approved, Federal Drug and Agency approved for use in this age group. Multi-component behavioral change interventions that include changes of dietary and physical activity may reduce BMI in the short term in children aged 6 to 11 years. Although the benefits are small and quality of evidence is low. Obesity in pets is common in many countries. In the US, 23 to 40% of 23 to 41% of dogs are overweight, and about 5.1% are obese. The rate of obesity in cats was slightly higher at 6.4%. In Australia, the rate of obesity among dogs in a veterinary setting has been found to be 7.6%. The risk of obesity in dogs is related to whether or not their owners are obese. However, there is no similar correlation between cats and their owners. Obesity usually results from a combination of causes and contributing factors. They are family inheritance and influences. The genes you inherit from your parents may affect the amount of body fat you store and where that fat is distributed. Genetics may also play a role in how efficiently your body converts food into energy, how your body regulates your appetite, and how your body burns calories during exercise. Obesity tends to run in families. That's not just because of the genes they share. Family members also tend to share similar eating and activity habits. Lifestyle choices: unhealthy diet, a diet that is high in calories, lacking in fruits and vegetables, empty calories, full of fast food and calories without feeling full, especially calories from alcohol. Other high-calorie beverages such as sugar-sweet soft drinks can contribute to significant weight gain. Inactivity. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, you can easily take in more calories every day than you burn through exercise and routine daily activities. Looking at computer, tablet, and phone screens is a sedentary activity. The number of hours you spend in front of a screen is highly associated with weight gain. Avoiding obesity is difficult if you don't have safe areas to walk or exercise. Similarly, you may not have been taught healthy ways of cooking, or you may not have access to healthier foods. In addition, the people you spend time with may influence your weight. You are more likely to develop obesity if you have friends or relatives with obesity. Obesity can occur at any age, even in young children. But as you age, hormonal changes and a less active lifestyle increases your risk of obesity. In addition, the amount of muscle in your body tends to decrease with age. Generally, lower muscle mass leads to a decrease in metabolism. These changes also reduce calorie needs and it can make it harder to keep off excess weight. If you don't consciously control what you eat and become more physically active as you age, you likely gain weight. Other factors: pregnancy. Weight gain is more common during pregnancy. Some even find this weight difficult to lose after a baby is born. This weight gain may contribute to the development of obesity in women. Breastfeeding may be the best option to lose the weight gain during pregnancy. Quitting smoking. Quitting smoking is often associated with weight gain. For some, it can lead to enough weight gain to qualify as obesity. Often, this happens as people use food to cope with smoking withdrawal. In the long run, however, quitting smoking is still a greater benefit to your health than is continuing to smoke. Your doctor can help you prevent weight gain after quitting smoking. Lack of sleep. Lack of sleep. Not getting enough sleep or getting too much sleep can cause changes in hormones that increase your appetite. You may also crave foods high in calories and carbohydrates, which can contribute to weight gain. Stress. Many external factors that affect your mood and well-being may contribute to obesity. People often seek more high-calorie food when experiencing stressful situations. Microbiome, your gut bacteria are affected by what you eat and may contribute to weight gain or difficulty losing weight. Previous attempts to lose weight, previous attempts of weight loss followed by rapid weight regain may contribute to further weight gain. This phenomenon is sometimes called yo-yo dieting. And slow your metabolism. Even if you have one or more of these risk factors, it does not mean that you are destined to develop obesity. You can counteract more risk factors through diet, physical activity, and exercise, and behavioral changes. People with obesity are more likely to develop a number of potentially serious health problems, including heart disease and strokes. Obesity makes you more likely to have high blood pressure and abnormal cholesterol levels, which are risk factors for heart disease and strokes. Type 2 diabetes. Obesity can affect the way your body uses insulin to control blood sugar levels. This raises your risk of insulin resistance and diabetes. Certain cancers. Obesity may increase your risk of cancer of the uterus, cervix, endometrium, ovary, breast, colon, rectum, esophagus, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, kidney, and prostate. Digestive problems. Obesity increases the likelihood you'll, that you'll develop heartburn, gallbladder disease, and liver problems. Gynecological and sexual problems. Obesity may cause infertility and irregular periods in women. Obesity also can cause erectile dysfunction in men. Sleep apnea. People with obesity are more likely to have sleep apnea, a potentially serious disorder in which breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. Osteoarthritis. Obesity increases the stress placed on weight-bearing joints, in addition to promoting inflammation within the body. These factors may lead to complications such as osteoarthritis. Obesity can diminish your overall quality of life. You may not be able to do things you used to do, such as participating in enjoyable activities. You may avoid public places. People with obesity may even encounter discrimination. Other weight-related issues that may affect your quality of life include depression, disability, sexual problems, shame and guilt, social isolation, lower work achievement. Whether you are at risk of obesity, currently overweight, or at a healthy weight, you can take steps to prevent unhealthy weight gain and unrelated health problems. Not surprisingly, the steps to prevent weight gain are the same as the steps you lose weight. Diet, daily exercise, a healthy diet, and a long-term commitment to watch what you eat and drink. Exercise regularly. You need to get at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderately intensity activity a week to prevent weight gain. Moderately intense physical activities include fast walking and swimming. Follow a healthy eating plan. Focus on low calorie, nutrient dense foods such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Avoid saturated fat and limit sweets and alcohol. Eat 3 regular meals a day with a limited snacking. Healthy, still enjoy small amounts of high fat, calorie foods at an infrequent rate. As an infrequent rate. Just be sure to choose foods that promote a healthy weight and good health most of the time. Know and avoid the food traps that can that cause you to eat. Identify situations that trigger out of control eating. Try keeping a journal and write down what you eat, how much you eat, when you eat, how you are feeling, and how hungry you are. After a while, you should see patterns emerge. You can plan again and develop strategies for handling these types of situations and stay in control of your eating behaviors. Monitor your weight regularly. People who weigh themselves at least once a week are more successful in keeping off excess pounds. Monitoring your weight can tell you whether your efforts are working and can help you detect small weight gains before they become big problems. Be consistent, sticking to a healthy weight plan during the week, on the weekends, and amidst vacation and holidays as much as possible increases your chances of long-term success. Lifestyle diseases are considered as diseases of the financially affluent, that is rich. This community follows plenty of unhealthy practices, leading sedentary lifestyle, eating junk food, smoke and drink heavily, addicted to narcotics, multiple sexual partners, and indulge in unsafe sex with strangers. The consequence is proliferation of lifestyle diseases, which they rightly deserve. We manage to increase our lifespan through medical treatments, but quality of life is nothing but the worst. There is such a degradation. Government should impose strict curbs on production of junk food, smoking, drinking, unsafe sex, etc. Punishment should be more stringent and capital punishment should be enforced, especially for the drug peddlers. Debates, discussions on open-ended topics. Like this can go on forever. Anyway, let me pull the plug here. We'll meet again real soon with another interesting topic. Some of the statements viewers express are solely in mind based on limited knowledge gained over 6 decades of personal experience. Always watch these videos with closed caption, subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as per my sincere recommendation zillion times so far. I know I rushed through to complete the presentation in 20 minutes max. This time I should have taken almost triple that time. That's a norm that I have set myself to retain the viewer's attention. I know nowadays I take too much time since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details referring a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. Besides, of course, I sprinkle my own salt and pepper and season it with my personal experiences so far in my life and also in future. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing, attributed to pandemic novel COVID-19 and prolong your lifespan. Lead a healthy life. Government can put a stop to natural and unnatural events, maybe bio and cyber war events like pandemics, which may lead to apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on Earth for no fault of others. Before I conclude, I would like to tell you a secret. I am also moderately obese, and so many of my friends and relatives are also obese. But at least I am putting the effort to reduce the weight. Okay, that is what one should do. Rest in peace and harmony.